Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Open Book. I am Billy Price, co-founder of BILLY Footwear, and today I'm your host, as always. Well, today we have a fantastic guest joining us today. She is a loving mom of Stella. I'll let her tell the whole story, but she's also the founder and, well, I guess the founder and probably the whole director of getting the nonprofit Stepping Stones for Stella off the ground. So welcome, Nikki.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here today and to share our story with everybody.
Yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate your time. And I mean, there's so many things about your journey, and I don't want to spill the beans because I want you to be able to tell the story. But there's so many things that inspire me about everything. So I think a great place to start would be just describe the nonprofit Stepping Stones for Stella.
Okay, so Stepping Stones for Stella was inspired obviously by my daughter Stella, who has cerebral palsy. She uses a wheelchair to mainly get around on a day-to-day basis. And when she was 3 years old, we moved up from, we lived in Charlestown, Mass, and we now have moved up to a beach community in Swampscott, north of Boston. And the first summer we moved up here, my family would come up and my dad would watch us struggling, getting on and off the beach with carrying Stella. I have another daughter, Chloe. At the time she was 5, and just all your gear. And he just kind of surprised me one day, and he created this pediatric beach buggy. And it was an absolute game changer for our entire summer. We could take her over the rocks, the sand. We could take her for walks along the beach with us. It just made her so much more involved in our experience going to the beach with our friends and family. After realizing how much it just changed our lives, and I had so many families coming up to me just locally saying, where'd you get that? I wish I had it. I went back to my dad and I was like, I cannot be the only one that would benefit from one of these buggies. I said, we really need to, first of all, I didn't feel right having it myself without offering it to other people. And he was like, all right, do your homework. Let me know what's out there. And if there's nothing out there, we'll take a stab at it. Lo and behold, there was nothing out there. And my dad made the first 120 beach buggies that were all 100% donated to families across the United States. They're made out of PVC pipe, but they have a very specialized wheel. It's a low pressure tire wheel, and that allows it to go over any types of terrain. And it just really, truly was such a game changer for our family and for so many families out there. So that's kind of how it all started and began.
That's so awesome. Well, so the buggies, I mean, I got to touch on this thing because when I first saw the picture, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, why, where on earth was I? Well, I mean, it's just like, I loved them. I absolutely loved them because I can totally appreciate everything about it. Me being a wheelchair user, I mean, I remember when I first got injured and then trying to, adapt to that world and then wanting to go back to the beach. And because I love to swim, but going back to the beach and my 4 tires would just get completely augured down into that sand. And then when someone's trying to push you, they're pushing from the back, which compounds the problem because all the energy is going to the front tires and you go deeper and deeper and deeper. Right. So the idea of having some sort of buggy, I mean, that definitely popped into our head, but we just never, found the right product because I don't really, to your point, it didn't really exist. And we just didn't take the time to try to make it our own. So what you guys created, I can completely understand how so many people are so excited about it.
Yeah, and I can say, when I approached my dad, and it's kind of a family, close friends organization, and when I went to them and my brother, and I told them about this idea, we kind of went at it just like, we'll just see what happens. Maybe it's 10 families that we reach a year, and that's great because it was all grassroots fundraising. Like we were doing road races, we were holding exercise events, just little things like that. And so it just evolved over time because for me personally, I just, I live and breathe the world of disability with my daughter, and medical equipment is just incredibly expensive for a lot of families, and insurance does not cover a product like this. They consider a luxury, which really, truly, don't even get me started on that. But I just wanted these families to have something that would just make their lives a little bit better, you know, if it was just a little part of their day that could just make it easier for everything else that they deal with and have to go through in fighting for. I just wanted that for them. And I am like so beyond proud of our organization for where we've grown, where we are today. We have 570 buggies, all 100% donated to families across the United States.
That's the part I really want to touch on, the part that is donated. Like these buggies, it's not like you're shopping for these things. It's a gift, which is, I mean, that just goes above and beyond. I mean, that is just so special.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think it's just it's so rewarding for me too, you know, to be part of it. I think, you know, when I first had Stella, it's unknown, it's scary territory. I mean, having children in general is scary territory. Never mind a child that has very complex medical needs on top of her disability. And through all of this, like the last few years, I've just met so many wonderful families, and it's connected me to a whole other group of individuals that I never would have known or been lucky to connect with. And I think it's just opened my eyes up to so many different areas of the world of, you know, how limited it is sometimes with having products that help people, that it just should be every day, you know, just every day for somebody. And I see the struggle, and I get these emails and pictures of the kids at the beaches, and, you know, it just really truly is a silver lining for me. And it keeps me going, it keeps me interested, and it keeps me evolving into other areas of where I can help.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it increases the quality of life. The quality of life, it increases the confidence, it increases the smiles on the face. And when that happens, you know, smiles are contagious. So the whole community is excited about the success of this thing.
Right.
That's so cool. So Stella had cerebral palsy, but if I remember right, I'm hoping we can go down that path a little bit to talk about her journey, or your journey as a family. But if I remember right, you didn't know, or the family didn't know she had cerebral palsy immediately. There was a bit of a time frame until you found out.
Yeah. So Stella was born early. So she was born 8 weeks early. So she was in the NICU for a good amount of time. And when she came home, you know, there was the typical stuff where they just say, oh, you know, preemies are delayed and preemies are this. And around 10 months, she definitely wasn't making any milestones. And having another daughter, you know, Chloe's older, and I had already went through the typical milestones. So luckily I was already kind of in tune with it, but also had a lot of support from my family, my sisters in special ed. And she really was a guide for me through a lot of that as well. And we found out right around almost her first birthday that she was officially diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And it was definitely shocking in some sense, and it was scary. I'm not gonna lie. There are a lot of nights I've spent crying, just not knowing what that looked like for her and for our lives. And, you know, really, truly, there's not a lot of books out there that guide you, you know, on what to expect. Yeah. So I would say the first year of her life, I think I lived in a hospital or a physical therapy facility. So it was a lot.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting. I don't really know. I know more about cerebral palsy now, but growing up, I certainly didn't know anything about it. And I didn't really know anything about being a wheelchair user really until I found myself being a wheelchair user. There was no one in my network that had cerebral palsy or had a spinal cord injury or, you know, really had any sort of disability. So being in this position now as this business owner, it's been absolutely amazing and remarkable to be able to connect with so many amazing families. And so many families have kids with cerebral palsy. And it's fun to have those conversations with them, because I don't say fun as in like it's fun, but it's cool to be able, because there's so much of a connection there. And in that moment of when, you know, you're given information that we're not really able to process, we just kind of feel like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Like, where do I go? I can relate to that, like my own world, like being told that I'd never walk again. I just didn't have the tools to process that, but you kind of feel like you're trapped. But as soon as you start reaching out and you be part of a larger community and to be able to share with others, you get the healing, and then you realize that life is not over. Life is just starting.
Right. Yes, I agree with that completely. And I think that was something that I missed out on in the beginning of it. And as Stella got older and I started to become more, not comfortable with it, but understood it and wasn't as frightened by it, it allowed me to open up more about it, because I think similar to you, I didn't know anybody that had cerebral palsy, and I, or used a wheelchair, and really truly what it all meant. Because the thing with cerebral palsy too is it is such a wide disability. You can have somebody that's affected in just one limb, two limbs, all limbs, be verbal, nonverbal, vision issues. It affects so many different people in so many different ways that when you're first told that your child has that and you don't know what that looks like, it can be really frightening and scary. And as you navigate through it and you meet other people and you start to open up and you start to share your story and you start to talk and you start to connect, it takes away the fear of it's not as scary and it's going to be okay. And I think that that's something that we forget when things are really tough, because in the moment you're drowning, but there is a light, and you have to find it. And I think that's not always easy to do, but with the right support and the right communication and the right connections, you do get there, And I think that's something that I definitely have learned through the years. And even today, Stella still has challenges today that we navigate through right now on a weekly basis. And I've become more open about those. And I think that that's given me more comfort in navigating the course of her life and her journey.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. You touch on that a little bit more. We feel when we get that kind of news, we think we're the only one. And then we feel like we're on the island, and we kind of isolate ourselves, and you just want to kind of turn your back to the world. And I don't know. So to be able to kind of face the challenge, lead into it, and move forward, that's really the name of the game.
Yes, definitely. And find silver linings. Like that for me is always something that I feel like I've made a promise. I feel like when Stella was little and this all came to where it is now, like I just feel like I made a promise to her that I was going to do whatever it was I needed for her to succeed. Like it wasn't, if she was going to be nonverbal, we were going to make that work for her and find the tools to give her. And I just feel like it's always finding the silver linings to know that where you are is always, you're going to get other places. It just might take a while and there might be hurdles to get there, but you're going to get there, Mm-hmm. And I don't know. And I think that's why Stepping Stones for Stella is kind of like my little baby in a way. Like it really, truly, my dad is my saving grace. He was behind me 100% with doing this. And we now, have a manufacturer that does our buggies, and just connecting with families that I haven't met. I've been so fortunate to meet the ones that I have and to see their growth and their experiences. It makes you feel like part of something that's like bigger than yourself and anything else that you can even imagine. For me, at least.
Well, Stepping Stones for Stella, that website, there's a lot of information on there, a lot of the story, both Stella's story and your own story. So how do people find it? We can put up your email address, not your email address, excuse me, your website address.
Yeah, so we have a website, and it's www.steppingstonesforstella.org. And we also have a Facebook page, and we have an Instagram account. So you can reach me. The email goes to me, so you'll get me when you send it. And you can inquire about our buggies. Our buggies are a pediatric buggy. I just want to say that. There are some qualifications that go with that. They're from ages 2 to 11, and there's a weight cap of 60 pounds. Our buggies do not recline, so you do have to send an email and kind of reach out if you're interested in one. Awesome.
Well, then the other question is, how did we get in contact with each other?
Well, so my sister's friend was at a shoe abilities show out in, I think, the West Coast, came across the Billy shoe and thought of Stella and brought her first pair. And it was like amazing to see her put on and take off her shoes all by herself, which is what we all strive for, right? Is to get dressed and undressed or put shoes on and just be independent. So now she has a whole shoe line of Billy shoes, from boots to shoes to sneakers. And I found when Stella was 5 years old, she had double hip surgery. And through that process. There was nothing to dress Stella in during that time, and asking her doctors and at Children's about that, they were like, oh, sweatshirts, blankets, and that just wouldn't cut it for me or for Stella. So I went out and I made her a pair of pants. And eventually it evolved into having zippers that you can take the pants on and off without going up through the leg, and it would go over her calves. And it allowed me to put pants on her and dress her, and it changed her recovery. And through that process, my business partner and I, Joanne, we decided that we wanted to make it a change in how fashion is right now in the industry. There's not a lot of clothes out there for the differently abled. And we just feel as if we want to make a change. And we were so fortunate to get connected with you and just have the same mission. I feel like that's kind of where you and I share a little bit of that same goal of trying to make it a inclusive world of fashion. You know, it's just everybody should be able to get dressed and take their shoes off and have the freedom to do it.
Right. Yeah. The big thing, we kind of rooted it in universal design and essentially just taking fashion and function to smash the two together, which is exactly what you're doing with the pants, which is just awesome. And you sent me a video of Stella she was already wearing the pants, but showing how the zipper worked on the side. Yeah. And it was just so cool because she was zipping the pants and then she just jumped over the pants and then started zipping the shoe. So it was all just a very free flowing movement.
I know. It was really cute. It was very cute. Really neat. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other part is, for Stepping Stones for Stella being a nonprofit, it's just such an honor for us to be able to collaborate with you. I mean, with any nonprofit, the lifeblood of that nonprofit is a source of revenue, but also we want to be able to, offer the shoes at discounts. So we are so honored to be able to collaborate with you where members of your organization are able to buy the shoes at discount, but also having that give back into the nonprofit for more buggies. I mean, that's just really exciting for us.
I know. We're so grateful to you for that. It'll be so wonderful. And we're so grateful for the partnership. And thank you so much for your support.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Nikki, this is amazing. This is so awesome. I know that we're going to be longtime friends for a long time. And we can talk for on and on and on. But I wanted to give you the mic one more time, just to kind of share whatever's on your heart. I mean, we definitely covered a lot of ground, but you can certainly reinforce one of those elements or talk about something new. But I just want to give you the mic one more time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think, talking, it always touches me when, people ask me about Stellas Journey and where I started and where I am today. And I don't know, I feel like for anybody out there that's kind of in the beginning stages or at different stages and they're just not sure and feeling lost, I just want them to know it's going to be okay. Trust me, I've hit rock bottom many times. And I think that when you have the right village around you and you have your support system and you have your people pulling you, you might feel alone, but you're really not alone and you'll be okay. And I just think that we all have to remember to be kind to people and just, you never know what somebody else is going through. And that's a message I believe in and live by every single day. And I just think that it's a hard space and it's an unknown space, and just to know that you're just not alone. And I just want to reiterate that so much.
Wow. I agree. I mean, I can't even agree more with what you said. I mean, the words you just said, I needed those 25 years ago when I was laying on a hospital bed because I thought my world was over. But you're right. It's association, the people you associate with, the people that just build you up, like build a safe structure around you to allow you to kind of grow and change and struggle, but continue to move forward. So absolutely incredible.
Yes, definitely. I agree.
Well, Nikki, thank you again so much for your time. This is amazing.
Thank you. I feel so honored. We're big
Everyone else that was chiming in, this was another episode of Open Book. Thank you very much for joining us today. We'll have another one next week. So until then, take care.